Namo Narayana, welcome back. We're reading through Adi Shankara's Sata Sloki. I realized in the last video, and I didn't say this, that you really should read this thing front to back, kind of in one go. I've broken it up into 10 videos, or it will be 10 videos, with about 10 verses or so a piece because it's easy to digest. But you really miss in this format how the ideas flow. But he does this in all of his writings, if you haven't picked this up. He takes something and he just develops it out and develops it out and develops it out and goes here and there and wherever. And by chopping it up, you miss that flow. And I realized I was reading this in the last video going, oh, this is great and it ties in here, but yeah, it's easy to forget that. Let's dive in today, starting with verse 69. A lustful person, on returning home from a long stay in another place, and taking his wife in a tight embrace, feels absolutely happy and does not know anything outside, such as this is something other than myself, or anything inside, such as I am so-and-so, happy or miserable. Similarly, the Jivatma, which becomes one with Brahman, or Paramatma, in the state of deep sleep, enjoys bliss and remains untouched by all worldly activities and the results thereof, in the form of merit and sin, and is free from grief, delusion, and fear. In that state, the Jiva forgets the world, which is characterized by differences and similarities and relationships of all kinds. The dissolution of all objects, both subtle and gross, dormancy of all the organs in the mind, experience of happiness, these three are common to the states of Jivan Mukti and Shushupti and deep sleep. But there is a difference between these two states. One who is asleep comes back to the waking state because of the effects of his past karma, but one who has become liberated by the attainment of self-knowledge does not go back to the state of bondage because all his past karma and their effects have been destroyed by knowledge, though he continues in the body until there is no bondage for him. Suppose there is a king who is endowed with all accomplishments and prosperity, is in the prime of life, is good, learned, strongly built, and most energetic, and is the ruler of the whole world, full of wealth. The happiness he enjoys can be taken as one unit of happiness. 100 times this is the happiness of the Maines, who have won that world by the performance of the prescribed rites. 100 times that is the happiness of the celestial minstrels. 100 times that again is the happiness of those who become gods through the performance of the rites prescribed in the Vedas. 100 times that is the happiness of the gods by birth. 100 times that is the happiness of Prajapati. 100 times that is the happiness of Hiranyagarbha. All these joys, which are all derived from sense objects and are limited, form only particles of the bliss of Brahman, which is infinite and which alone freely exists. In which bliss of Brahman, the joys of human beings, of the Manes, of those born in the heaven as gods, and of those who become gods by the performance of Vedic rituals, are all included, on attaining which all desires of all beings are fulfilled, and which is the state of liberation because of the dissolution of the worlds. O Supreme Being, in the form of the moon, make me eternal and immortal in that Brahman which is pure concentrated bliss. Pour down a torrent of nectar for the Shiva, the Lord of the sense organs, who is in the Ajna chakra between the two eyebrows. So the Vedas say. The self is changeless and is of the nature of supreme bliss. The non-self, or Maya, is just the opposite, ever agitated and miserable. The mind, which is the limiting adjunct of the self, takes on the steadiness and bliss of the self, or the agitation and misery of Maya, depending on the circumstance. When the mind is seized by desire for some object, it remains agitated, and the agitation gives rise to misery. When the desired object is attained, the mind becomes calm and steady, and then the bliss of the self is experienced. The happiness that comes from sense objects in this manner continues only as long as the mind remains calm and steady, that is, until the mind is again agitated by some other desire. The happiness arising from physical union lasts only as long as the mind is absorbed in it. That is, only for a very short period. The happiness enjoyed in the state of deep sleep lasts as long as the deep sleep continues. The happiness in the state of liberation is permanent, because the mind of a Jivan Mukta is always calm. It therefore follows that the happiness and calmness of mind always go together. From this it is clear that any happiness experienced at any time is only a particle or a manifestation of the eternal bliss of the self, and that this happiness manifests itself only when the mind is calm. The mind becoming fatigued by the actions in the outside world during the waking state withdraws from all activities and desires to become united with the self. At this stage, the dream state occurs, in which the mind projects various objects on the strength of the impressions accumulated during the waking state. Then, becoming inclined solely towards the attainment of the self, it gives up completely all the experiences of the dream state, and becoming quiescent, it gets relief in the self. It gets absolute rest in the self. During a dream, when the physical body is lying motionless, how can there be the experience of joy, sorrow, etc. by that body? If it is said that a new body which is capable of activity and experience of joys and sorrows comes into existence in the dream, such a contention is not acceptable because the materials for forming a new body are not available there. If, to get over this difficulty, it is claimed that the new body is conjured up by the mind, then the question arises, how is it that the generative fluid discharged as a result of the union with a woman in dream by such a conjured up body is found on the physical body that has been lying motionless during the dream and is different from the dream body? When a person sees something frightening in a dream, such as a wild animal or an armed robber about to attack him, he cries out loud. Sometimes a person talks or laughs in sleep because of some dream. The crying, talking, and laughing are done, obviously, by the physical body. It is clear from this that the individual does not sever connection with the physical body during the dream, even though it lies motionless. In the dreamer sees himself as having a body and experiencing and doing various things. All the objects experienced by him in dream are the creations of his own mind, and these are created out of the impressions left by the objects experienced during the waking state. The dream state, which is between the states of waking and deep sleep, is known to all by experience. It is known as the second state. In that state, the Shiva withdraws all sense organs into himself and remains a self-function. The self, the witness of all that is experienced in dream, illuminates by its own light all that is seen in the dream, which are all created by past impressions. In the dream, he sees objects desired by him and goes to desired places while the physical body lies motionless in bed. The Jivatma protects, by means of the vital force, the body which lies as if lifeless on the bed in the dream state, so that it may not become fit only to be eaten by dogs and other animals. The pranas perform merely the function of breathing in this state. By the power of the vasanas in the mind, the Jivatma creates horses, chariots, rivers, ponds, towns, places of enjoyment, friends, women, sons, well-wishers, servants, and much, much more. In dream, the Jiva creates elephants and tigers and thieves and enemies and snakes. He sports with women, laughs, enjoys, eats tasty food, and thinks he has become an outcast, and shrinks away in shame from his relations and friends. He runs away, frightened by the sight of tigers and other wild animals, and cries out loud as if he has fallen into the grip of a wild animal. And thus we will pause here. So, how many of you dream of elephants, tigers, thieves, and enemies, and snakes and monkeys? I'm not too sure, but it's kind of interesting to see him list this, because obviously this is the world he lived in, the things he would have dreamed of. He certainly would have not been dreaming of, towers and cities like we have in this modern world. Adi Shankar's world was very different, almost unimaginable. He talks about something here which he has mentioned in a previous bit that I did, and I called it out because I said I lost it, and he returns to it here, and I was hoping he would finish the thought, and he didn't. Verse 76, he talks about how is it that a new body is conjured up by the mind in the dream, yet we have a generative fluid discharged as a result of a union with a woman in this dream. So our physical body, the male body, discharges semen, wet dream, because I am dreaming that I'm sleeping with a woman. How is that possible? He mentions this here. And he even says, how is it that blah blah blah, question mark. And then goes on and doesn't answer the question. He mentioned this before, and it bugged me, because it was like, you've got this idea going and you throw this one in, and you didn't answer it. I'm looking for an answer again. You're blowing it up. Come on, Adi Shankar. I expect better from you. But sometimes he does this. He throws things in, and I don't feel like he answers the questions he proposes. There's another video where he talks about, if you don't do this, you'll be punished. But he never actually says what the punishment is. And it doesn't make any sense to me. So hang out with me. Let's see if he gets there. And until then, in a couple days from now, if you're watching this video live or if you're going to the next one, let's see if I get the answer. I'm just going to be frustrated this time around. I don't know. Anyways, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.